Today, we're digging into a feeling that has become all too common in the modern workplace: burnout. And while we all think we know what it means, the real story is that for decades, we've kind of been looking at it all wrong. Yeah, if that question hits home for you, you are so not alone. That feeling of being completely spent, of mentally checking out, and starting to wonder, am I even good at this anymore? That's the exact feeling we're going to unpack right now. So let's start with a clear definition, because to really understand burnout, we have to get past the idea that it's just feeling tired or stressed out. It's actually a specific psychological syndrome that researchers have been studying for decades. What's really interesting here is how the whole study of burnout even began. It didn't come from some top-down academic theory. Nope. It came from the ground up, from actually listening to the real experiences of people in super demanding jobs, like in healthcare and social work. Researchers took this popular term and started to systematically figure out what was really going on. All that research led to this crucial definition. Now, the key words I want you to hear are prolonged and chronic. This tells us something so important. Burnout isn't the result of one tough project. It's more like a slow erosion, something that happens over time from constant, nonstop stress at your job. So what does that prolonged response actually feel like? Well, research has given us a blueprint for the burnout experience, and it's made up of 3 core dimensions. First up, and this is the one we all recognize, is exhaustion. This is that deep down feeling of being drained, of having absolutely nothing left in the tank to give, emotionally or physically. It's really the core stress part of the whole syndrome. Now, this next one is a direct result of that exhaustion. To cope with feeling so completely depleted, we start to distance ourselves. And that's cynicism. You might start feeling detached from your work, your colleagues, even your customers. It's a defense mechanism, really, but it ends up disconnecting you from the very purpose of your job. And finally, there's inefficacy. After feeling exhausted and cynical for so long, you just start to doubt yourself. It's that nagging feeling that you're not effective anymore, that you're not making a difference. Your sense of accomplishment just vanishes. And here's the key takeaway. For it to be true burnout, you need all 3 of these things happening together. So if that's what burnout is, the next logical question is, what causes it? And this is where the research takes a really powerful and, for a lot of people, a really relieving turn. For years, the blame was often put on the individual, but the evidence, it points somewhere else. If you remember one thing today, let it be this. Burnout is not a personal failing. It is not a character flaw. It is a problem of the workplace itself, specifically a chronic mismatch, a poor fit between a person and their work environment. And researchers have identified 6 key areas where this mismatch happens: an unsustainable workload, having no control over your work, not getting enough rewards or recognition, a toxic community, unfair treatment, or a clash with your core values. A chronic problem in any one of these areas dramatically increases the risk of burnout. Now, that whole framework was established back in the early 2000s, but in the 2 decades since, a new challenge has come up that makes these mismatches even more dangerous. Work is no longer just confined to the office. You see, early research focused on what happens at work, but the problem has evolved. A 2023 study highlights the new frontier: what happens after work. The issue is no longer just the stress itself, but our inability to recover from it. And the key to recovery is this concept called psychological detachment. Just think of it as the mental off switch. It's the ability to stop thinking about work problems when you're not working. This detachment is absolutely essential for your mind and body to actually rest and recharge. And this model just brilliantly illustrates the modern trap we're in. Look at this chain reaction. Work overload on the left directly makes it harder for us to psychologically detach. And when you can't flip that mental off switch, it directly impacts your ability to relax and get quality sleep. The stress doesn't just stay at work. It follows you right home and sabotages your recovery. Now, I know this all might sound a bit bleak, but understanding the problem this clearly actually helps us see the solution. Because the opposite of burnout isn't just not being burned out. It's something way more positive: engagement. For the longest time, psychology was way more interested in what's wrong with us than what's right. In fact, get this, for decades, the ratio of studies on negative states versus positive ones was a staggering 17-1. So shifting the focus from just fixing burnout to actively building engagement is part of a huge, incredibly important movement to reverse that. So what is engagement? Well, It's the direct positive opposite of those three burnout dimensions. Exhaustion becomes energy, cynicism gets replaced by deep involvement and a sense of connection, and that awful feeling of ineffectiveness, it transforms into a strong sense of personal efficacy and accomplishment. And how do we build it? We go right back to those 6 areas of work life. But instead of just avoiding a mismatch, we actively build a match. We create environments with manageable workloads where people have control, feel rewarded and respected, are part of a supportive community, are treated fairly, and get to do work that aligns with their values. And that leaves us with this final, crucial question. What if we stopped seeing work as something to simply survive? What if we started designing our jobs and our organizations with the explicit goal of fostering energy, involvement, and effectiveness? That is the future of work we should all be striving for.